I'm talking about the world in the West as I'm seeing it slowly disintegrate. Well, actually not that slowly. It seems to be happening faster and faster. And what it is that we as individuals can really actively do about it. You know, like it feels like the world of politics, big money is removed from a lot of us. It's not real. I don't know about you, but I don't sense too many really wonderful political options out there in the world. And you know, I certainly don't have bucket loads of money that I'm investing in a new house every week. Not even close. Don't even have a house, but that's slightly different. So for the majority of us who aren't the uber wealthy or the uber influential, how do we navigate these times of uncertainty and change, and how do we feel empowered in a situation that's really spiraling out of control? It's a bloody interesting question, I think. Okay, so the basic problems with the world are not that basic, and there's a lot of them. I think there's always been problems in the world. It's pretty normal that the world is not perfect and the world has problems. I think the intensity of them and the rapid nature of the change that we're currently undergoing is certainly a noteworthy point in history. And as I said, most of us probably don't feel like we're in control. And realistically, when it comes to the stuff that's happening in the outside world, we're not in control. But the secret is we don't need to be in control specifically of that first. Where we want to be in control is within ourselves first. So then we can start taking action in the world that leads the world to be a better place to live for more of us. Now, I don't know if there's truly a system that humans can get into, like a system of government that humans could get into that would stay good for us. I think part of the human experience, part of human nature, is we have light and dark. And there's a balance of that light and dark in society. And your version of light and dark might be a little different from mine, which is why I shade it in that way and not good and bad. Because it's hard to argue good and bad for a lot of things. Whereas light and dark is a little easier to frame from more points of view. Yeah, we in the West, I'm just going to broadsheet it because I don't know enough about the individual politics of the rest of the world, but I get a sense of what's happening in the West. And Western economies are failing from a point of view of the majority. So what's espoused to be the idea of capitalism and democracy is regressing into something that's the opposite. Maybe not for capitalism, but for democracy, it's regressing well away from what democracy is meant to be about. And it's basically, it's a heightened version of what it's always been, which is a place for the rich and powerful to dictate. But the dictates are getting less and less favourable for the people that are elected to give the politicians voice. The politicians' decisions seem to be more and more and more self-focused, less and less community-focused. I am from an era where I could have had a lot, and I could have benefited a little bit from what's happening now if I was smart enough, but not at the same level as the uber rich. And we're at a place where what was possible for a couple of generations, a good solid job with consistent hours and longevity, where the employees respected the companies respected the employees, that time is gone. And now we live in a culture where unless you've got 2 full professional wages, you're probably really struggling to buy a house, and even then it might be tough, and you're going to be so locked up to the eyeballs in debt that enjoying that life might not start until you retire, which is crazy. And if inflation keeps going up, that might get harder and harder, especially if inflation goes up and wages don't. That's going to get tighter and tighter for everyone. And then people are going to need to sell assets, and who's going to be there to pick them off? The uber wealthy. Anyway, that's getting into some stuff I don't know enough about to comment on here. The part I want to talk about is what we can do about it. So a lot of us probably feel out of control economically. Cost of living's getting tighter and tighter. The ability to enjoy life at the same level that we used to be able to is trickier and trickier because everything costs money, and the simple things are getting harder. There's still things you can do, but the thirst everybody has for this better life is starting to drive everyone insane. And that's part of where our first responsibility comes in. Now there's no... Okay, so what are we doing about it? I may have to redo some of this with a bit of voiceover, but that's okay. So we're in a world where the economics aren't so great for the middle class, and we're in a world where our power on a political level, I don't think has ever been less. At least not in my lifetime. I mean, politicians have always lied. They've always been full of shit, and there's always been selfish interest involved, but when you look back over history, you can probably see that some of their policies also put people first. But there used to feel like there was a difference between political parties, like a real solid difference when it came to the nuts and bolts of how we live in the world. And at least in Australia, I haven't felt that for 10 or more years, where there's a true ideological difference in how we approach life. So what can we do? Okay, we've got cultural issues, we've got relationship issues galore, we've got economic issues, we've got political issues. The whole world's spinning. What can you do about it? You're probably someone that doesn't have a lot of direct contact with politicians. Probably don't have multiple houses sitting in your back pocket, enjoying the fact that house prices are going through the roof. And you may or may not be in a happy, successful relationship. You may not even want one. Who knows? These days it's hard to tell. But if the world isn't stacking up the way you want it, the way you preference it, what can you do about it? Well, first step is to just be real and be in the moment and really accept what is happening in your life, in your individual life right now. Don't get so blown away with all of the drama and all of the bullshit. Understand it, I'm not saying to ignore it, but don't let the stories in your head take you somewhere. Okay, so be present to who you are right now and accept your reality as it truly is right now. Whether that's you're in a shitty relationship and you've got 7 houses but you have no political influence, or you have no relationship, you have no house, and you don't even know what politicians look like these days. It doesn't matter where you fall on the scale with what you have, what you don't have. Just acknowledge what it is. So cool out here. And then, so you've got in touch with your present to a certain extent. You've sat down and you've acknowledged, okay, this is where I am right now, right in this moment. This is who I am, this is what I'm feeling, and this is how I'm interacting with the world in this moment. Perfect. Once you've truly done that and taken all your bullshit and all the stories away, then you've got a place where you can actually start to make impact and start to take responsibility for your life. And that really is the key of all this, is you don't have control over the politics, at least not yet. You don't have control over the economic state of a country or the world. So, in the short term at least, there's no point getting too worried about it. Acknowledge that these things are in motion, and acknowledge where your place is in it. But don't worry about the stories, don't worry about the drama, because it's not going to help you. Accept responsibility for where you are. You are the person that has put you where you are. Now, you might be born at a time where getting access to houses has been really difficult. You might just be coming into your working years and not have a lot of family support to get you started, in which case buying a house in many Western countries is painful. Just the mere thought of it is fucking painful, and may in fact be not the wisest course of action. That's for you to determine, and that's for you to be responsible for how you interact with the world as it is in the moment. See the world, understand the patterns, go and look at history. I'm going to try and get some people on who are very knowledgeable about historical economics, culture, and relationships, politics. I have some knowledge of these areas, but I'm not an expert. So I'm going to seek to find people that can help me explore that. But the lens with which we can navigate it all is through being present to who we are in the moment, being real to who we are in the moment, accepting it, and taking full responsibility for how we act in the world. We need to act with integrity. So it's a time, chaos is a time that can bring out our best or our worst. In a time of chaos, we can go with the mob. We can take the shortcuts. We can find the easy paths. And we can stamp over our fellows to get what we want. We can assume that it's a zero-sum game out there. We can ignore long-term prosperity for not just humankind, not just our country, but the planet as a whole. Yes, I know I'm talking pie in the sky shit, but It does have a basis in reality. It can happen. So yeah, that's the first step. And then as we get some more information, let's educate ourselves. Be responsible for our education. Let's not rely on the education that we get force fed by big business, by government, even by our friends. Find the parts that are important to you and investigate them yourself. Share the information with us. Absolutely. I'm definitely not a leader, but I feel like we need a community. I'm happy to be part of somebody else's bigger community, but I'm going to start a small one here for people that are truly interested in making the world a better place, not just for themselves, but for their neighbours and their neighbours' neighbours, and so on. Let's start a group. Let's share information. Let's find pathways to navigate these difficult times, and let's do it with our own power intact, with our own authority to make our own choices, using our own wisdom. Even if we do share some, we need to use our own wisdom and not be beholden to somebody else. And that's how we begin to navigate. See you on the journey.